justice, we are freedom bound. We have come too far, we can't turn round. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We have come too far, we can't turn round. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We have come too far, we can't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We have come too far, we can't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We have come too far, we can't turn around. We'll blisters revolution in this town. 3 minutes. We got time for one last 15. We are the 99, the mighty, mighty 99. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them. We are the 99, the mighty, mighty 99. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them. We are the 99, mighty, mighty 99. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them. We are the 99, the mighty, mighty.
Talk about this infamous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. 2 years ago today, the Supreme Court of the United States betrayed our Constitution. Let's call it what it is. And the brave men and women who fought and died, many from this town, to ensure that its protections are preserved for all of us, by declaring that corporations should be treated as if they are people with rights under the Constitution, and that money is free speech. Let me say that again. Corporate money that can buy elections and run our government is considered free speech. It's not hard to understand why this is bad for democracy. Justice Stevens, in his dissent, was compelled to state the obvious, and in a most unusual mood, he actually read excerpts of his 90-page ruling, including the following statement. Corporations have no conscience, no beliefs, no feelings, no thoughts, no desires. Corporations help structure and facilitate activities of human beings. To be sure, their personhood often serves as useful legal fiction, but they are not themselves members of we the people. Remember that, we the people? By whom and for whom the Constitution was established. It's been estimated the next presidential election will cost $8 billion. An $8 billion scream defining our choices, telling us what we should believe, who can represent us, what our issues are. Getting corporate money out of politics will turn down this volume, allowing the voices to be heard above the corporate noise. Those of us who oppose corporate personhood are not alone. Many polls have shown that Americans oppose Citizens United by 4-1. Over 100 cities and states have passed or are working on passing resolutions against corporate personhood. New York City, January 4th, Pueblo, Colorado, January 3rd. Almost every day we have another resolution. And then we have what they call the vote heard around the world in LA on December 6th, the first major city to call for a constitutional amendment, clearly establishing that only human beings are entitled to constitutional rights and that money is not free speech. We stand here today in solidarity with those around the country who join us in declaring this. Corporations are fictional legal entities, and they do not qualify for human rights. We, the 99%, demand that this institutional bribery never be deemed free speech. If the highest court of our land tells the people that money equals free speech, I want to ask you a question. Does that also mean if you don't have money, you don't have free speech? We, the people here of Tidewater, should also reject the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling and move to amend our Constitution to firmly establish that money is not speech and human beings are not corporations. The U.S. Constitution has served us well, but when the Supreme Court says, for the purposes of the First Amendment, that corporations are people and that writing a company check is constitutionally protected free speech, and that attempts by the government and states to impose restrictions are unconstitutional, our democracy is in grave danger. The Supreme Court is misguided in principle and wrong on the law. In a democracy, the people rule, not the corporations.
That's right.
We must turn down the volume on these corporations so we might have a dialogue between us, respectful of each other's experiences. We need to come together to have our voices heard, or we will never even know what the will of the people truly is. Our government, our judiciary, just another commodity sold out to the highest bidder and reflected back to us in glossy images, slogans, and talking heads. We have to ask ourselves, what type of leaders, what type of questions and decisions will arise from such a corrupt system? I think we already know the answer to that one. We must work together to take back our political process and moving to amend the Constitution to abolish corporate personhood. Occupy Wall Street is not just a way to fire up the 99%, but it can also serve to be a conduit of a more inclusive, progressive, elected leadership that is committed to working among all generations, all races, to bring our country together into the future. We must also recognize the agenda of Congress is being set by the corporations, not the people. But they are not invincible. They're just 535 people, most of them doing the bidding of 1,500 corporations with little concern for the lives of the people who elected them. We occupiers put our local senators and representatives on notice by following their actions and occupying their offices when they don't represent the people, but serve their corporate masters instead. I was at Occupy Congress this past Tuesday, and I saw some of our legislators gathering on the steps of the Capitol building, safely behind the thin blue line, of course, to watch us protesters with surprise and amusement. There they stood, trying to make sense of all that love, the beautiful chanting, the shouting, the music, the costumes, the signs on the West Lawn, and I imagine wondering what it all signifies. Well, let me help you out with that. What you're hearing is the sound of the people who have the courage to stop pretending that most of you 535 men and women of Congress do not represent us. And you should expect us. So far, you haven't been called out very much for what you do or don't do in Washington. Many people ask me, Deb, come on now. Do you truly believe the Occupy movement can make a difference when the forces arrayed against us are so powerful and entrenched? Well, for now, if you can't afford a lobbyist, occupying is the best way I know to be heard. Yeah. How much of this has been reported in the mainstream media, because I gave up on that a long time ago. But at Occupy Congress, I saw with my own eyes close to 3,000 people storming the steps of the Supreme Court. This was Tuesday. Yeah. The same steps where Brother Cornel West was arrested, shouting, "Money is not free speech." Say it with me now.
Hey, Cornel!
Money is not free speech. 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 Money is not free speech.
We're supposed to have a vote on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, but the SOPA bill has been indefinitely postponed. Yeah. So this is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. That's right, guys. We have votes. You know, we have protested. We have signed petitions online. You know, the SOPA bill has been postponed indefinitely, guys. Yeah. You know, so I am so glad, you know, that the SOPA bill, you know, that it's not up for vote anymore. But that just for the time being, you know, because let's say in a couple of months that they might bring back the proposal of the bill, you know. So let's keep an eye on our government. Okay, it's we the people by the people. Okay, and also I was gonna tell you guys about, you know, like there were some people that sponsored the SOPA bill and that they weren't getting paid. Guys, you know, I mean, we're talking about here about, you know, about corporation or people. So they were, they were paying all people to sponsor this bill. You know, like ever since 2010, like more than $1.2 million has been gone to the sponsors of the bill. You know, I mean, so we should have. I mean, we, the Hampton Roads, we the people, we should propose resolution, you know, to overturn the corporate personhood. All right, guys. So how many people want to overturn the corporate personhood here? By show of hands, yeah. All right, guys. So I am going to leave you guys with this. You know, show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Here in Virginia today, there is another imminent threat to our electoral system. The proposed Voter Suppression Acts, Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 9. Please allow me to quote from change.org. The current law allows that if a voter didn't bring an ID, he can still cast an official vote if he signs a statement that certifies he is who he says he is. House Bill 9 would require that he cast a provisional, not an official ballot. Senate Bill 1 would eliminate voters from using their state-issued voter registration card as a form of ID to cast a vote. What? Further, if a voter did not bring ID, they would allow to be cast only a provisional, not an official ballot. HB 9 and SB 1 would make it much more difficult for young adults, senior citizens, low-income people, and people of color to vote. The 1965 Voter Rights Act that Dr. King and millions of other civil rights activists worked hard to enact was designed to prevent this kind of voter suppression. The bills in the Virginia House and Senate threatened to take us back to an era of Jim Crow, when literacy tests were used to establish and maintain legal segregation. Present-day efforts to suppress the vote are likewise designed to limit the impact that people of color and other underserved populations can have on the political system. Like it or not, we are living in a time when minorities are becoming the majority. And the ruling elite are afraid of that. Bills like these are clearly attempts to disenfranchise minority voters and the young, both known to be progressive voters. But like it or not, we are in this together. And again, we simply must find a way to work out the environmental and economic challenges of our time together. There simply must be a way. You know, if Dr. King had not been assassinated, he would only be 83 years old today and could still be leading us. But although his physical form was taken away, his spirit never can be. So please, allow me the honor of your attention for a few minutes longer to read Dr. King's words. This is from his The Birth of the New Nation, delivered at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, April 7, 1957. These words are as true today as when he spoke them. My friends, rise up and know that as you struggle for justice, you do not struggle alone, but God struggles with you, and He is working every day. somehow I can look out. I can look out across the seas and across the universe and cry out, mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is tramping out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Then I think about it, because His truth is marching on, and I can sing another chorus. Alleluia, glory, alleluia. His truth is marching on. Then I can hear Isaiah again, because it has profound meaning to me that somehow every valley shall be exalted, and every hill shall be made low. The crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough places plain, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. That's the beauty of this thing. All flesh shall see it together. Not some from the heights of Park Street, and others from the dungeons of slum areas. Not some from the pinnacles of the British Empire, and some from the dark deserts of Africa. Not some from inordinate, superfluous wealth, and others from abject, deadening poverty. Not some white and some black, not some yellow and not some brown, but all flesh shall see it together. They shall see it from Montgomery. They shall see it from New York. They shall see it from Ghana. They shall see it from China. For I can look out and see a great number, as John saw, marching into the great eternity, because God is working in this world, and at this hour, and at this moment. And God grants that we will get on board and start marching with God, because we got orders now to break down the bondage and the walls of colonialism, exploitation, and imperialism. Break them down to the point that no man will trample over another man, but that all men will respect the dignity and worth of all human personality. And then we will be in Canaan's freedom land. We must learn to live together as brothers, or we will perish together as fools. We are tied together in the single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the way God's universe is made. This is the way it is structured. That's the great Reverend Dr. Martin.
A couple of things today. You have heard about SOPA and PIPA. Certainly, they have pulled these legislations back. Why did they do it? They didn't do it out of the goodness of their heart. They did it because people got in an uproar and made their visions and made their preferences known.
Yeah!
That's why. That is what people power looks like. You have heard about the actions that are on the books right now, H.R. 9. You've heard about the voter suppression acts that are happening all over this country. Well, it's come to Virginia, and it's on what appears to be a fast track. I've been told that it's part of the regular legislative calendar, but the fact is, apparently they're voting on some of this next week. I went to check Sunshine, Virginia this very morning, and there are over 20 bills limiting or changing the qualifications to be a voter in Virginia that are already percolating their way through the House in Richmond. What are we going to do about that? That is a question that is on our hearts today.
This is what a police state looks like.
There we go. We can fight back. There are many things. There are many elements of the class war. We've been fighting a class war in this country for 30 years. Or rather, the 1% has been waging a class war, and we have been distracted, we have been silent, we've been fed American Idol, we've been fed a lot of other stuff. And while we have slept, they have taken our resources, they have exported our jobs, they have closed our factories, and now we find ourselves wondering what comes next. Well, I'll tell you what comes next. Occupy comes next. The only thing... this isn't it. It's okay. Thank you. The only thing that's going to make a difference is people on the streets. People like this. When we are Occupy Norfolk, Occupy Virginia Beach, Occupy Portsmouth, and when we gather together in pizza shops or restaurants or public houses or in churches, we number about 15 or 20. When we come together, what do we have here? 50 or 60?
Yeah.
That's just, you know, when we get together, we can make things happen.
Yes.
So I urge you, as we work, as we lay fallow and we make our plans for what happens in the future, to think about solidarity, think about making common cause, think about making deposits in the social capital bank, showing up for other people's events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Showing up, let's, you know, rather than taking and asking, let's be the first ones to give. Let's lead by example. When they talk about closing the post office in Berkeley, was it Dave Podman was telling that story the other night? Let's show up and help those people and show them we're done with war on public service unions. Let's show up, let's be an example, let's be the moment, and if we go back to sleep and turn on Idol and eat the Doritos, nothing will happen, and our children are going to wake up and say, well, what country are you talking about? It was never like this. So let's not queue up for the band. Let's go ahead and work together in solidarity.
Yeah!
I want to thank somebody who leads by example, who's quiet. If there's a camera or a microphone, he heads the other way. But he is the driving force and the heart and soul who planned and executed this event today, who did the hard work and glamorous work to make this happen. It is the reason we're all here today. Give an Occupy thanks to John Law.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
And now we have completely embarrassed him. You can thank me by one way. Organize and fight back! I would also like to point out that Food Not Bombs is here and they have some refreshments.
Just line up beside me. You have 3 minutes. If there's not a lot of people, you can speak for a good amount of time. Just be considerate of your speech. Okay?
The cause of the Christians, having killed and destroyed such an infinite number of souls, has been simply that their whole end was the acquiring of gold and riches in the shortest time, so that they might rise to lofty positions out of all proportion to their worth. In a word, the cause of such ills has been their insatiable ambition and covetousness.
Have a general understanding of the Citizens United, but there is a reason, and she pointed this out very clearly. Citizens United poses a threat to everybody here and everybody in Hampton Roads who is not here. Because the last time I looked around Hampton Roads, there weren't too many multi-millionaires walking around. The problem with Citizens United is that it sounds great on paper. You make your money, you earn your money, free speech is how you spend it. But that represents a clear and present danger to so many things in this country that are so important. If you're a teacher, if you're a cop, if you're a firefighter, if you own your own small business and you're struggling, if you're a civil servant or if you work for our federal government, essentially if you work in any job that is not for a super bank or you don't own Exxon or some large Fortune 500 company like this, Citizens United disenfranchises you of your role in the electoral process. What it says to them is that those people who pick a profession where they make unlimited amounts of money, even if they sit in a fancy office in Wall Street and they push around all these complex financial derivatives, somehow their money is worth more than yours. You might teach in this terrible inner city school. You might be a cop who is on call any minute to rush into a home invasion, a firefighter who might have to rush into a burning building, and somehow politically, your say is worth less than these other people, simply because you're not greedy, because you don't want to go into a job that makes unlimited amounts of money at the expense of somebody else who can't make that money. And it is dangerous that our country has reached this point, not only in the ideas in which they hold, but they have actually legislated this into law. They have made this possible now for these people to disenfranchise us. And if you want to see how it works, watch the Republican primaries right now. People are pouring millions of dollars into our electoral process. They are putting misinformation out there, and they are affecting how people around us, our people in these states and these primaries, are voting. And if we don't act on these type of things now, it's going to disenfranchise us. And I'd like to follow that up with a comment on SOPA and people. The fact that SOPA and people were pulled so quickly demonstrates exactly how you can go about this. You know, when they got that much, they got 3 million calls the other day when Wikipedia put their blackout up. And it has an effect. They're running scared. You look at that. In one day, 8 sponsors pulled. They are starting to run scared. And if we pull that type of action, if we attack Citizens United, if we start attacking campaign finance, if we go after this corporate personhood, we can achieve the same type of effects. They don't have boroughs, they have an office they want to get reelected to. And if we tell them what it takes to get reelected for that office, that is what they will be. Mitt Romney is a shapeshifter. We need to make people like that shapeshift into the character that we want. So I leave you with that thought.
Do what it takes.
Email old friends, come and help get petitions signed, stay on the Facebook, whatever it takes to bring new faces out, organize new activities, and get involved in the electoral process.
I wrote this as a reminder to what a lot of people keep asking me, what the Occupy movement is about and what its goals are. I feel like this kind of sums it up pretty much. Listen close as the cries of the masses go unheard. Solidarity isn't a 4-letter word. All walks of life, all forms of faith, we share this strife, we share our pain. Don't be afraid and don't be ashamed. Stand united against tyranny's reign. You're my brothers, you're my sisters. Feet full of blisters, we echo the whispers. Inside tents through winters, see the bigger pictures. The needs of the many outweigh the few. We stand for our children, we stand for you. Solidarity through and through.
A lot of the reasons why we're here is about voter suppression. Today we do have voter registration forms here on site. Do not be ashamed if you are not registered to vote. The only thing you should be ashamed of is not registering when you have the opportunity. We have forms both for the Commonwealth of Virginia and out-of-state forms if you're a student that is has a residence in another state. Thank you.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. It's gonna be a brand new world. Ain't gonna let square.
Oh, yes!
Ain't gonna let no tear gas